The vast human space station floated in silence among the stars. Metal corridors stretched endlessly, filled with voices, footsteps, and the hum of engines. But on that day, the air was different, tense and heavy. A ship had just docked. A ship not built by human hands. Its shape was strange, curved like the bones of some ancient creature, and from it stepped a girl, her skin faintly glowing under the harsh station lights. Her eyes, bright silver, scanned the human soldiers waiting. But it was not the girl who made them step back. In fear, it was the creature at her side. The pet walked close to her feet, tall enough to reach her waist. Its body was covered in dark scales that shimmered like liquid metal. Its eyes glowed faintly blue, like twin stars burning from within. And when it moved, its tail swept across the floor with a sound like grinding steel. Humans whispered to each other, some in fear, some in anger. Why did they bring that thing here? One voice hissed, another muttered, "That's not a pet, it's a weapon." The girl heard their voices, but she did not react. Her steps were slow, steady, calm. The creature followed her, its head moving left and right, studying everyone. No soldier dared step closer, though they carried weapons. They all knew the stories of alien guardians that could tear through metal walls. Creatures that had wiped out whole squads of soldiers in seconds. No one trusted it, and no one wanted it here. But then, one human did not step back. Among the soldiers, a man stood firm, his eyes locked on the girl. He was not smiling, but he was not afraid either. He simply watched. His face calm, his body steady. The girl noticed him. And for the first time her silver eyes softened, not with kindness, but with curiosity. The commander ordered the soldiers to escort her to the meeting chamber, but none dared walk too close. To the creature, they formed a half-circle around her, weapons ready. Still, their eyes betrayed their fear. The creature hissed low, its glowing eyes scanning the humans. And in that moment, silence filled the corridor. Even the hum of the engine seemed to fade. Every heartbeat echoed, every breath felt heavy. The human who had not stepped back finally moved, not with his weapon raised, but with his hands open. At his side, he took one slow step toward her. The soldiers gasped, some even shouted, "Stay back!" But he did not stop. The alien girl tilted her head, her pet growled, but still. The human walked closer, his eyes calm, and when he spoke, his voice cut through the heavy silence. "You don't want to hurt anyone, do you?" The soldiers froze. The girl's silver eyes widened. No one had ever spoken to her like that on arrival. Everywhere she went, people only showed fear, anger, or hate. But this human's voice was different. It was steady, gentle, as if he believed in what he said. The pet's growl lowered, softer now. Its glowing eyes turned from cold threat to curious watch. The girl looked at the human for a long moment. Then, slowly she gave the faintest nod. The commander barked orders again, pulling the soldiers back into line. They moved forward, surrounding her again. But the fear in their faces had not lessened. Some looked at the human as if he were insane. Others whispered that he would be the first to die. But he only kept watching her, watching the pet, and she could feel it. His eyes did not see her as a threat. He saw her as something else, something different. As the group walked deeper into the station, whispers spread faster than footsteps. People left their workstations, pressing against walls to watch the alien girl and her monstrous pet. Mothers pulled their children away. Engineers paused their repairs. Everyone knew danger had arrived. But no one dared to say it too loudly. No one except the human who had spoken to her. The girl walked with her head high. Her pet stayed close, its tail scraping the floor. She knew their fear. She had felt it her whole life. But for the first time since leaving her homeworld, she felt something strange. She felt one pair of human eyes that did not fear her, and though she tried to hide it, deep inside, a small warmth flickered in her chest. The soldiers led her toward the chamber doors. The heavy metal panels slid open with a hiss. Inside, more humans waited, leaders, officers, scientists, all watching her. Their faces were tight, serious, filled with mistrust. But she no longer cared about their fear. Her silver eyes glanced once, only once, toward the human who had dared speak, and as the doors closed behind her, the sound echoed like a warning. Something had begun here. Something none of them understood yet, and the universe itself would never be the same again. The chamber was silent as the alien girl stepped inside. Her pet entered beside her, its claws clicking against the metal floor, every human officer tensed at the sound, some gripping the edge of the table, others reached for their weapons, though none dared to draw. Fear spread like fire through dry grass, invisible but everywhere. The commander cleared his throat, his voice stiff and formal. "You are welcome on this station, but your companion cannot be trusted," he said. He gestured toward the scaled creature, his eyes never leaving it. The girl's silver eyes flashed cold. "This is not a companion," she said softly, her voice sharp yet calm. "He is family." A ripple of unease passed through the chamber. The creature growled low, its glowing blue eyes scanning the humans. One scientist leaned close to another and whispered, "Do you know the stories? These beasts destroyed entire fleets during the border wars." Another whispered back, "They say one of them tore apart a dreadnought ship with its claws." The girl heard every word, but she did not answer. She had heard the same fear in countless places before. Her people had always been judged not for who they were, but for the guardians who followed them. The humans only saw danger, never truth. She folded her arms and stood still. Her pet lowered its head, protective, as if it could feel her rising anger. The commander turned to the human soldier who had dared step forward earlier. "You," he said sharply, "you were close to it. Why are you still alive?" The soldier shrugged lightly. "Because it didn't want to hurt me," he answered calmly. The chamber filled with murmurs, disbelief spreading fast. One officer leaned forward, his voice trembling. "No one survives being close to such a thing unless it's waiting to strike." The girl's silver gaze hardened. "You mistake protection for danger," she said. "He does not attack unless I am threatened, unless I am in pain." Her words carried weight, but the humans did not believe. They only saw a monster wrapped in scales and shadows. As the meeting dragged on, fear grew worse. Every time the pet shifted, chairs scraped back. Every time its tail brushed the floor, hands twitched near weapons. It was like a storm cloud hanging over the chamber, ready to break. The girl felt the weight of their fear pressing down on her chest. She had lived this scene before, on other stations, on other worlds. Always fear, never trust, and yet her eyes drifted toward the soldier again. He was still calm, still watching. Not with suspicion, not with hate, but with something else. It unsettled her more than the fear of the others, because she could not understand why he did not tremble, why he did not step back like the rest. Later, when the meeting ended, the humans allowed her to walk freely in a restricted part of the station. Of course, freely meant surrounded by guards at every step. Civilians peered out from doorways as she passed. Children whispered, pulling at their mother's sleeves. "That's her," one whispered. "That's the girl with the beast." A group of engineers stepped aside quickly, eyes wide. One muttered, "If that thing snaps, we're all dead." The whispers stabbed at her heart. Though she did not show it, her face remained calm, her steps steady. Her pet stayed close, brushing its armored body against her leg. It could feel her sadness, and it rumbled softly in comfort. But the humans only heard the sound and flinched back in terror. In the mess hall, soldiers talked loudly about her. "She's dangerous, I'm telling you," one said, slamming his hand on the table. "That creature is just waiting for the order to kill us all," another replied. "But the soldier," a third said, lowering his voice. "He stood close and it didn't move." The others leaned in, their faces twisted with doubt and disbelief. "Then maybe," one muttered darkly, "maybe he's already under its control." Rumors spread faster than truth by nightfall. The entire station whispered the same story. The alien girl had brought a weapon disguised as a pet. and the one human who showed no fear must have been touched by it. Whispers turned into warnings. Warnings turned into hate in her assigned quarters. The girl sat on the cold bed, her pet curled beside her like a living shadow, its eyes glowing. Faintly in the dark, for the first time since she had arrived, her calm mask slipped. She whispered softly to the creature, her voice shaking, "They will never understand us." The pet's tail tapped the floor, slow and steady. Its eyes glowed brighter for a moment, as if to say it understood her pain, and yet, even in the shadows of fear and mistrust, one memory replayed in her mind, the human soldier's voice, calm and steady. "You don't want to hurt anyone, do you?" She had not answered him then, but deep inside she wanted to. She wanted to tell him that her whole life she had been judged by fear, that no one had ever dared see past the scales and glowing eyes, except him. But she also knew, the more fear spread across the station, the more dangerous things would become. Humans feared what they did not understand, and fear always led to violence. The question was not if they would strike. The question was when. The station moved through the endless dark of space, but inside its walls, fear had not faded. Every corner echoed with whispers about the alien girl and her pet. Every hallway carried nervous footsteps when she passed. People avoided her eyes, avoided the glowing creature at her side, and yet one human did not turn away. The soldier, the same man who had dared to step forward on her arrival, found himself drawn back to her again and again. He had no orders to speak with her, no reason to risk himself, but something inside told him the truth, that she and her creature were not the monsters the others believed. He wanted to see for himself, not through fear, but through his own eyes. The girl noticed his presence before he ever spoke. Each time she entered a hall or training yard, he was there, not staring in suspicion, not clutching his weapon like the others, just watching, steady and calm. His eyes were sharp, but not cruel. His steps careful, but not afraid. It unsettled her more than anger ever could. One evening, she stood at the edge of the observation deck. Stars filled the glass window, endless and cold. Her pet sat beside her, tail coiled around her feet, its glowing eyes reflecting the starlight. Behind her, footsteps echoed, steady and deliberate. She turned, expecting another group of guards, but it was him, the human soldier, alone. "You should not come here without protection," she said quietly. Her voice carried both warning and curiosity. The pet lifted its head, studying him, a faint growl vibrating in its chest, but the human did not flinch. He stopped a few steps away, hands open. "I don't think I need protection from you," he said. His voice was steady, calm, almost gentle. The girl tilted her head, silver eyes narrowing. "You trust too easily." "Human," she replied. "Or maybe you see too little." He shook his head slowly, a small half-smile tugging at his lips. "Maybe I see more than the others." The pet growled again, testing him, its glowing eyes narrowing. The soldier crouched slightly, lowering himself to the creature's height. Most humans would never dare, but he did it without hesitation. He extended a hand, palm open. The room went silent. The girl stiffened, ready to call her guardian back. But then, the unthinkable happened. The creature leaned forward, sniffing the air. For a tense moment, its sharp teeth flashed in the starlight, and then it brushed its snout against his hand, a soft rumble echoing from its chest. Not a growl, but something else, something closer to acceptance. The girl's breath caught. No one, not even among her people, had gained such quick trust from one of these guardians. Her silver eyes studied him with a mixture of disbelief and something else, something harder to name. "You should not have done that," she whispered, though her voice trembled with awe. "It could have killed you." The human stood slowly, still calm. "But it didn't," he said simply. "And I don't think it ever will." For the first time in years, the girl felt her chest tighten in a way that was not anger or fear. It was something new, strange and dangerous. Her people always told her that humans could never see past their fear. But here was one who looked at her differently. here was one who dared to touch the creature everyone else feared. And the creature, her guardian, had accepted him. From that night onward, things changed. The soldier began walking with her in quiet places. He asked her questions, not about her power, not about the creature's strength, but about her world. Her childhood, her dreams. At first, she resisted, giving short answers, watching him carefully. But slowly, the walls she had built began to crack. She told him of her home. The forests that glowed under twin moons. The songs her people sang when the guardians chose their partners. The long years of fear and exile when other species called them cursed. And through it all, he listened, truly listened, not with suspicion, not with judgment, but with patience. The pet, too, grew more at ease at first. It shadowed her closely whenever he was near, its glowing eyes never leaving him. But after days of meeting, the growls softened, its body no longer tensed in warning. Sometimes it even brushed its armored scales lightly against his leg, as if acknowledging him as part of their circle. But their bond did not go unnoticed. Other soldiers began whispering more furiously than before. "They've bewitched him," one hissed in the mess hall. "He's under their control," another muttered darkly. Fear twisted into suspicion, suspicion twisted into hate, and though the girl could feel it growing around her like fire in dry grass, she could not stop the strange warmth in her chest whenever the human was near. One night, as they walked together along the quiet cargo bay, she stopped suddenly. "Why do you do this?" she asked, her voice sharp with confusion. "Why are you not afraid when all others tremble?" The soldier looked at her, his expression calm, his eyes steady. "Because fear blinds people," he said softly. "They see only a monster. But I see you." Her breath caught, silver eyes wide. For a long moment, she could not answer. Her guardian rumbled softly, sensing her turmoil. The human stood quietly, waiting, not pressing her. At last she turned her gaze away, back toward the stars, her voice low, almost broken. "Then you are the first human to ever say that." And in that silence, with only stars above and shadows around, something unspoken passed between them. Something fragile, something dangerous, something neither of them could ignore any longer. The space station was quiet that night. Too quiet. Alarms were silent. The corridors were calm. But beneath the stillness, tension was rising. Whispers of sabotage had begun spreading. Rumors of enemies hiding among them. Some said pirates planned an attack. Others said spies had already infiltrated the crew. Whatever the truth, the air felt heavy, like the calm before a storm. The alien girl sensed it before the humans did. She stood in her quarters, silver eyes staring out into the stars. Her guardian stirred restlessly at her side, claws scraping the floor. Its glowing eyes scanned the shadows as if danger lurked just beyond the walls. She placed a hand on its armored head, whispering softly, "You feel it too." Moments later, the silence shattered. The alarm blared through the station. Red lights flashing across every corridor. Voices shouted over the intercom. "Hull breach detected. Unknown ships approaching. Prepare for combat." The girl rose instantly, her pet beside her. She knew this was not a drill. Humans rushed through the halls. Soldiers in full gear, engineers shouting commands. Fear and chaos flooded every corner. When the girl stepped into the corridor, the soldiers froze. Her presence alone was enough to draw angry whispers. "She brought this," someone shouted. "It's her creature, they led the enemy here." Her silver eyes narrowed, but she said nothing. The accusations cut deep, yet she knew this was not the time to fight words. Her guardian growled, its glowing eyes flaring bright blue. The humans raised their rifles nervously. But before the tension could break, an explosion rocked the station. The floor shook, lights flickered, screams echoed from the lower decks. The enemy had arrived. Through the observation glass, dark ships swarmed like shadows against the stars. Pirates, armed and merciless, stormed into the outer sections of the station. Gunfire erupted. Shouts filled the air. The soldiers rushed to meet them, their formation broken by fear. The girl moved toward the chaos, but the commander stepped in front of her. Weapon drawn. "Stay back," he barked. "We don't need your monster tearing through our station." She met his glare with icy calm. "You cannot stop what's coming," she said quietly. "You will need him." The commander refused to listen. But the decision was no longer his. The pirates breached the inner decks, armed with heavy weapons. The first wave of humans fell quickly, their rifles useless against the assault. The girl's guardian roared, the sound shaking the metal walls. It leapt forward, faster than the human eye could follow. Claws slashed, tail struck, and in seconds, the corridor was cleared. The pirates lay scattered, groaning or motionless. The soldiers stood frozen, their rifles hanging limp in shock. No one had ever seen such power up close. The pet's scales shimmered as it crouched protectively in front of the girl. Its glowing eyes burned like fire as it dared anyone to move against her. The humans backed away, some whispering in awe, others in terror. "She's controlling it," one muttered. "No," another whispered back. "It's protecting her and him." The last words made her silver eyes shift. She turned to see the soldier, the same man who had never feared her. He stood among the chaos, watching not with terror, but with something stronger, trust. Their eyes met, and in that instant, she knew he understood. The Guardian had not attacked to destroy, it had attacked to protect, but the battle was not over. Explosions shook the walls again, heavier this time. The pirates had brought reinforcements. The station groaned under the pressure, metal panels tearing apart. Flames burst from the lower decks, filling the air with smoke. Civilians screamed. Soldiers scrambled to regroup. The commander shouted orders, but his voice was drowned in the chaos. The girl stepped forward, her pet at her side. Her voice cut through the panic like a blade. "If you want to live, you will let us fight." For a moment, no one spoke. The humans stood torn between their fear and their survival. But when another blast ripped through the walls, killing soldiers before their eyes, the decision was made for them. The soldier, the one who trusted her, stepped forward first. His voice steady. "She's right," he said. "If we don't let them fight, we're finished." The commander hesitated, rage flashing in his eyes, but even he could not deny the truth. At last he gave a sharp nod. "Fine, but if they turn on us, they won't." The soldier cut in firmly, and for the first time, the girl felt something close to respect for a human leader. Together, they moved into the battlefield. The Guardian roared, its voice shaking the air. Pirates fell before its claws, weapons shattered against its armored scales. The humans followed, emboldened by the creature's power. For the first time, fear began to shift, not away entirely, but into something new. They began to see the truth. The monster they feared was saving them. Through fire and smoke, the girl fought beside the human soldier. She moved with grace, her silver eyes burning bright. He covered her with his rifle, every shot precise. The Guardian tore down enemies before they could reach them. For a brief moment, among the chaos, they were not human and alien, not feared and feared. They were allies, standing together against the dark. But deep inside, the girl knew this was only the beginning. Humans might see her differently after tonight, but fear was not so easily erased. Fear lingered like poison in the blood, and she also knew this test was not just for her guardian. It was for the bond growing between her and the one human who had dared to trust her. The battle ended in fire and smoke. The station trembled but did not fall. Bodies of pirates were dragged away. Wounded soldiers carried to the infirmary. The humans whispered in shock. Some in awe, others still in fear, but no one could deny the truth. The alien girl and her guardian had saved them. She stood in the ruined corridor, her pet crouched beside her, its glowing eyes dimming as it calmed. Blood stained its claws, scorch marks burned across its scales, but it stood tall. Unbroken, the humans dared not approach. Even though the creature had fought for their survival, only one man stepped forward, the soldier. The one who never feared her. His eyes met hers, steady, calm, as if he understood more than the others ever could. The commander, however, was not convinced. "This proves nothing," he barked, his face red with rage and pride. "That beast fought because it wanted to, not because it's on our side." His words spread like poison, feeding old fears. Murmurs rose among the soldiers, heads nodding, eyes narrowing. The girl's silver eyes grew sharp as blades. "You speak of things you do not understand," she said coldly. "He fought because I am his bonded one, and because I chose to stand here with you." The chamber fell silent at her words. The soldier frowned, curious. "Bonded one?" he asked, his voice calm. She looked at him for a long moment, debating whether to speak. Her people had always kept their truth hidden, guarded by secrecy and pain. But something in his gaze, something patient and unshaken, pushed her to speak. So she revealed it. Her voice was low but strong, each word carrying weight. "My people are called the Vyari. We are not conquerors, not destroyers as your stories say. We are wanderers, survivors, hunted for generations." She paused, placing a hand gently on her guardian's armored head. "These creatures, you call them monsters, but they are not. They are guardians, chosen since birth to protect us." Her silver eyes glowed faintly as she continued. "They do not kill without reason. They do not fight without cause. They fight only for those they are bound to." The humans shifted uneasily, some doubtful, some curious. The commander sneered. "Bound? Do you expect us to believe this thing follows you out of loyalty?" The girl's lips curved in the faintest of smiles. "Not loyalty," she whispered. "Love." The word struck the room like a thunderclap. Her guardian lifted its head, glowing eyes fixed on her, rumbling softly like a living echo of her truth. The soldier's breath caught, his eyes moving between her and the creature. "You mean it chose you?" he asked quietly. She nodded, her silver eyes softening. "When I was a child, he found me, small and helpless. I was dying in the wild storms of my homeworld. He shielded me with his body. He has never left my side since." Her words painted a picture so vivid that the humans could not look away. For the first time, they saw not a monster, but a bond deeper than chains, deeper than fear. Some eyes softened, others hardened. But no one could deny the honesty in her voice. The commander slammed his fist against the table. "Lies, clever lies to trick us," he spat. "She brought danger to this station. She will bring more. And we are fools if we trust her." Room filled with murmurs again, fear twisting with anger. The girl stood tall, her guardian growling low at the hostility. Her eyes flashed, but she did not raise her voice. "I have nothing to gain from your trust, but everything to lose if you continue your blindness." The soldier stepped between them, his voice calm but strong. "She saved us, her guardian saved us, and still you choose fear over truth." His words silenced the chamber, his steady presence cutting through the storm. The girl stared at him, her chest tightening with something she had not felt in years. A human standing in her defense, not because of politics, not because of orders, but because he believed her. Later, when the chamber emptied, she found herself alone with him in the quiet hall. The air smelled of smoke and metal, the walls scarred from battle. She stopped, turning to face him, her silver eyes searching. "Why do you trust me so easily?" she asked, her voice soft but uncertain. He shook his head, a small smile touching his lips. "It's not easy," he admitted. "But when I look at you, I don't see a monster. I see someone carrying a burden too heavy for one person to bear." Her breath caught at his words. Her guardian rumbled softly, brushing its scales against her leg, as if sensing the shift in her heart. For the first time, she felt the sharp edges of loneliness soften. For the first time she felt seen, but she also knew the danger had not passed. Her revelation had planted seeds of doubt, seeds of suspicion. Fear could twist truth into lies. And even now whispers were spreading faster than flames. Whispers that the alien girl and her pet were more dangerous than the pirates who had attacked. She turned her gaze to the soldier, her voice low, almost a whisper. "You should be careful, human. Your people will not forgive you for standing with me." He met her gaze without hesitation, his words firm and steady. "Then let them hate me. I'd rather stand with truth than hide in fear." And for the first time, her lips curved into something rare, something fragile, a smile, faint but real. It was a moment small and fleeting, but powerful, because in that moment, she realized she was no longer standing alone. The station had survived the pirate attack, but it did not find peace. The halls were scarred, the walls burned, and the air still carried the smell of smoke and fear. But worse than the damage was the silence that followed, a silence filled with suspicion, hatred, and whispers sharper than knives. The alien girl walked through the corridors, her guardian at her side. Every step drew stares. Every stare carried fear. Civilians pulled their children away. Soldiers tightened their grips on rifles. She had fought to save them, but all they saw was danger. Her silver eyes burned cold, yet deep inside. A sharp ache twisted her chest. It was always the same, no matter where she went, no matter what she did. The commander stood before the council, his voice harsh. "She is a threat," he said, slamming his hand against the table. "You all saw it. That beast tore through pirates like paper. What will stop it from turning on us?" Murmurs filled the chamber, some nodding, some uncertain. But fear always outweighed reason, and fear was on the commander's side. The soldier rose from his seat, his voice calm but firm. "She saved us," he said, his words steady like steel. Without her guardian, this station would be nothing but drifting metal. But his defense was drowned out by louder voices. "She bewitched you," one officer shouted. "She controls that beast, and soon she use it against us." Another spat. The chamber roared with fear, twisting truth into lies. The girl remained silent, her silver eyes fixed on the floor. She had no words left, no explanations that could change their minds. She had seen this before, too many times, and she knew what always came next. That night, soldiers came to her quarters, weapons raised, faces hard with anger. The commander's orders were clear: disarm her, separate her from the creature. Her guardian growled, its glowing eyes flaring like fire. The soldiers froze, fear gripping their hearts. But one man pushed through the line, the soldier who trusted her. He stood between them, his voice like thunder in the narrow hall. "Stop this madness," he shouted. "She has done nothing but protect us." The commander's cold voice echoed from behind the soldiers. "She and that beast are a danger to this station. Stand aside or share her fate." The girl's chest tightened, her silver eyes flickering between the man who stood for her and the soldiers who stood against her. She wanted to tell him to walk away, to save himself. But before the words could leave her lips, the alarm blared again. Another explosion shook the walls. The station shuddered like a wounded beast. This time, it was not pirates, but something worse: internal sabotage. The enemy had planted charges inside the ship, tearing through its heart. Flames roared down the corridors, smoke choking the air. Civilians screamed, soldiers scrambled, chaos spread like wildfire. And in the middle of it all, her guardian roared, its voice shaking the metal. It leapt forward, shielding her as debris crashed down from above. The soldier grabbed her arm, pulling her away from the collapsing ceiling. They stumbled into the open hangar where fire blazed across the floor. Commander's men followed, weapons raised, but they hesitated. The ceiling groaned, the walls cracked, the hangar was falling apart. The girl knew what had to happen. Her guardian knew it too. It turned its glowing eyes to her, a low rumble vibrating in its chest. She froze, her breath catching. "No," she whispered, her silver eyes burning with sudden fear. The creature stepped forward, placing its armored body between her and the collapsing wall. Its massive tail struck the ground like a warning. The soldier realized what it meant before she did. "It's going to hold it back," he said, his voice breaking. "It's going to sacrifice itself." The girl shook her head violently, her voice trembling. "No, I won't let you. You've been with me since I was a child. You can't leave me now." her guardian roared, louder than ever before, its scales glowing brighter than the flames around it. The sound echoed with power, with love, with finality. She felt it in her chest, in her very soul. This was goodbye. The soldier grabbed her arm again, pulling her toward the escape hatch. "Listen to it," he urged, his voice raw. "It's protecting you. The only way you can honor it is to live." Tears blurred her silver eyes, her voice breaking. "I don't want to live without him." The soldier's grip tightened, his words fierce. "You won't be alone. Not anymore, but if you stay here, you'll die, and its sacrifice will mean nothing." The walls groaned, fire raged. The guardian stood tall, its glowing eyes locked on her one last time. She felt its love, its devotion, the bond that had carried her through every storm. And then, with a roar that shook the heavens, it struck the collapsing wall. Metal screamed, fire burst, and the ceiling came down in a storm of flame and steel. The girl screamed, her silver eyes wide with grief. The soldier dragged her through the hatch as the hangar collapsed behind them. The sound of destruction filled the station, the sound of her guardian's final sacrifice. She fell to her knees, her body shaking, her heart breaking. For the first time in her life, she felt truly alone. But then, she felt a hand on her shoulder, steady, warm, human. She lifted her silver eyes to see him, the soldier who had never feared her. His voice was quiet, but unshakable. "You're not alone, not anymore." Her tears fell, but inside her grief, a spark of something else flickered. The bond with her guardian would never be broken. But now, a new bond had begun, one she had never expected. And though the station burned, though her heart ached, she knew the fight was not over. Not for her, and not for the human who had chosen to stand by her. The station was broken, but not destroyed. Flames had been contained. The worst of the chaos had ended, but the silence that followed was heavy, filled with grief and suspicion. The alien girl sat in the ruined corridor, her silver eyes hollow. With loss, her guardian was gone, sacrificed to save her. The bond she had carried since childhood was severed, leaving an emptiness she could barely breathe through. Soldiers walked past her with narrowed eyes. Some muttered that the creature had caused more harm than good. Others whispered that it had saved them all. But no matter the words, none of them stepped closer. They still feared her, and now, without her guardian, some even saw her as weak. She clenched her fists, pain twisting into cold silence. Her people had always been feared, but now she was feared and pitied both, and that cut deeper than any wound. The commander called for a meeting, his voice sharp with authority. He stood before the surviving officers, his expression hard. "This ends now," he declared. "We have lost men, we have lost ships, and still she remains among us, a danger we cannot allow." He raised a hand, pointing directly at her as she entered the chamber. "She will be removed from this station at once." Murmurs filled the air, some agreeing, some uncertain. The soldier stepped forward, his voice calm but unyielding. "No," he said firmly. The room fell silent at his defiance. "She saved us. Her guardian saved us. And I won't let you cast her aside after everything she has given." The commander's face twisted in rage. "She bewitched you," he spat. "She poisoned your mind. Can't you see that?" The soldier did not flinch, his eyes steady as steel. "No," he answered. "What I see is truth. And what I see is a woman who has lost everything to protect people who still hate her." The chamber erupted with arguments, fear battling against reason. The girl stood silently, her silver eyes scanning the room. She had no strength left to argue, no words to change their hearts. But then, the soldier turned toward her, his voice carrying through the noise. "Tell them who you are. Tell them what you will do now." For a moment, she hesitated, her grief heavy, her heart raw. But slowly, she lifted her head, her silver eyes glowing faintly once more. "I am Veari," she said, her voice strong though it trembled beneath. "My guardian is gone, but his sacrifice lives in me. I will not turn my back on those who fear me. even if their fear never fades. I will fight for them if they cannot fight for themselves." Her words rang through the chamber, heavy with conviction. Some lowered their eyes, ashamed. Others remained stiff with doubt, but the soldier stepped closer to her, his voice steady. "And I will fight beside her." The commander slammed his fist on the table, his face red with fury. "You are betraying your own people," he shouted. The soldier met his glare without hesitation. "No," he said firmly. "I am protecting them, even from themselves." The girl's chest tightened at his words. For so long, she had walked alone, carrying the weight of fear and hate. But now, here was one human who chose her, not because of duty, not because of orders, but because of belief. For the first time since her guardian's death, she felt the faintest warmth in her chest. Fragile but alive, the council was divided, the decision unclear. But before it could be made, another alarm blared. Not pirates this time, not sabotage, but something far worse, a distress call. An entire human colony nearby was under attack, their signals desperate. The commander froze. Torn between fear and duty, the girl stepped forward, her silver eyes burning with fire. "Send me," she said, her voice like steel. "I will fight for them, even if you will not stand with me." The soldier looked at her, his eyes steady, his voice low but certain. "Then I will go with you." The chamber erupted in protest. Officers shouting, fear rising again, but above it all, the girl and the soldier stood side by side. One alien, one human, bound not by fear, but by choice. Her guardian was gone, but his sacrifice had created something new, a bond between her and the human who had dared to see her not as a monster, but as herself. As the alarms blared and ships prepared to launch, she turned to him, her voice quiet. "You know, if you stay with me, your people will never forgive you." He met her gaze without hesitation, his words firm. "Then let them hate me. I would rather stand with you than live a life of fear." For the first time since losing her guardian, her lips curved into a true smile. It was small, fragile, but real. The universe had taken everything from her, but in return, it had given her something unexpected. Not a protector born of her people, but a companion who chose her freely. As the station lights flickered and the engines roared to life, she stepped forward with him at her side. The path ahead was uncertain, filled with danger, filled with hate, but together they would face it. And though the universe still feared her, she no longer feared walking in it, because now she was no longer alone. Asterisk.